Hello, everyone. This is Shintai with my co-host Ultimate Floyd. We are the Final Bosses podcast, and I just want to quickly say sorry for the drought. Sorry it's been so long since the last episode. Basically, Floyd and I are busy guys, and sometimes scheduling can be difficult. One day may be good for him, is bad for me, that kind of thing. So, we apologize, but we're here now, and that's what matters. So, dude, how have you been?
I've been great. Yeah, I've definitely busy. I know it's been tough because my work schedule is so random, and I work weekends a lot too. So it's been tough to get this together. But finally, we're doing another episode. I feel good about it. What episode is
Yeah.
this? Probably like
Oh man, I forgot.
probably episode 8. It's been so long. I forget.
No, yeah, it's been a while. But man, what games have you been playing? I kind of know, but like,
I'm gonna talk
I
about
think
everything because I have been playing a
I
lot.
mean, no. There's no need to talk about every single game. Just games that you've been playing most recently.
Yeah, I'll talk about 2 of them in particular. One I just finished actually not too long ago, and that's Kingdom Hearts 2, the 2.5.
Yes. I really wanted to talk about this.
Game is fucking awesome. I am
I
actually
know.
blown away by it.
It's so good.
Like, it's such an improvement over the first one. The combat is so much better. It's like, oh man.
Yes. It like the first game doesn't even feel like an alpha. It feels like the fucking prototype that they like slapdash together, and Kingdom Hearts 2 is like the final build, like the fucking fully realized combat system.
Surprised like an action-based combat system feels so good coming from like Square. It just feels so weird. Like it's so fluid, it's so fast. Like the combos are awesome. Like the drive system is fantastic. I love the limit system too with your partners. All these cool team attacks. It's got all the great RPG elements that I look for.
Dude, when I
Uh,
first did a team attack with Auron from FF10, I was done. I was like, holy shit.
no, it's awesome. And then like there, a lot of the one-on-one fights in this game are so epic. Like
I know, yeah.
there's one
Did
later in the
you
game.
did you fight Sephiroth one on one?
Okay, I did. Okay, he's too hard. I can't do it. Even at max
Dude,
level.
I was able to beat him in fucking high school. Come on.
Problem is, I think my gear is kind of shitty. I probably should get like the Ultima weapon and like better equipment. But like looked at it, you have to grind a lot, which is like, I don't know. I could probably
Yeah,
beat
yeah,
him.
they're like the game, like if you're just doing like the main game, like it's the pacing of it is like really quick and it's a blast. But once you get into like 100% completion stuff, it feels like the game kind of grinds to a halt, and then it's just a lot of tedious work.
Yeah, I looked at the even like something like the Coliseum. There's all these like there's so many different tournaments you can enter, but it turns out some of them you have to actually level up all the drive forms to the max level. I'm just like, come on, I'm not doing that. Like that's too much work, which sucks. But it's still some cool optional stuff. Like that Sephiroth fight is really badass. It's super difficult. The Lingering Will I think is maybe a little too difficult. Like that thing is like way tougher still.
What's the Lingering Will? I don't remember.
Fight added to the 2.5 version of the game. He's like this knight-looking guy. He
Mm,
basically like well pretty much one shots you with all of his combos, and it's like he's got like
Jesus.
tons of health. Like he's absolutely ridiculous. Like Sephiroth's nothing compared to him actually. But
Oh damn.
yeah, no, it's
Uh,
really brutal.
so I've actually been playing Kingdom Hearts 2 myself recently. So I'm at the part where you have to return to the Pride Lands the second time.
Okay, well, it's a decently far way in. I love that. I love how Lion King is in. It's weird, right? Because I haven't really been spoiled about Kingdom Hearts that much. A lot of the worlds in this game I never really knew that they were in the game. Like Pirates of the Caribbean, I had no idea. It's always weird. That always was weird to me. Like these like anime characters with like these realistic characters thrown together.
Yeah, it looked kind of funky. Yeah.
But it's still cool. And then, but the best part is the Timeless River. I think it's called like the throwback to Steamboat
Yeah.
Willie. Oh, so
I
good.
It's really good. It feels a little underutilized though. Like I wish you could go back to it again and
The
do more
only
stuff
world,
there, but you really only go there once.
yeah, you don't go back to it like the other worlds, which is pretty disappointing. But it was still like pretty much like the highlight of the game for me. Like I was just like smiling the entire time.
Oh yeah, that place is awesome. That is really good.
Yeah, like
And yeah, and I really man, like the thing about like Kingdom Hearts 1 is it's the you just play as Sora the entire time. And I mean, you do in Kingdom Hearts 2 as well, but like I really appreciated that in Kingdom Hearts 2 they added so much where like you're not just playing it as default Sora like in Kingdom Hearts 1. You have all the different drive forms. You have like him turning into a lion and stuff. Like they just added so much content to this game and they made it so much fun. Like in Tron World, you can like ride on the bikes and shit. Like
oh yeah,
they just add like they just add all this crazy shit to add so much variety to the gameplay. It's so good.
parts are no longer garbage. It's like a better Star Fox game than Star Fox Zero. Which
Yeah, yep.
And then the music. Oh, the music is actually like really good. Like the Disney music,
Uh-huh.
is a classic, right? But I think the original compositions are actually better. Like especially towards the end of the game, like they're just really memorable.
No, yeah, the music is really solid.
Yeah. Okay. The story though, I have to mention the story. We didn't actually bring this up yet. Absolute fucking garbage. Horrible.
Yeah.
It's oh my god, I hate it. It's like the one thing about the game I just cannot stand. And
No, yeah. The dialogue is like super cheesy. It's like, I gotta follow my heart and destroy the darkness. Ugh, it's like so bad.
it's
Uh,
like convoluted as hell. The
yeah, it is.
The one thing with the second game I did notice compared to the first game, a lot more cutscenes and a lot longer cutscenes
Yeah.
too, especially towards the end with like Organization 13. And every time watching them, I'm just like, I don't care. I don't care about this. Shut up. Get me back to the action. But
Yeah. Like at least with the first I would say like the first game story like is at least okay. Like especially for a kids game, I think it's fine. It's pretty simple, it's pretty straightforward for the most part, gets across its cheesy morals and whatnot. It's fine. But Kingdom Hearts 2, it's like we got to bring in this shit with the nobodies. Nobodies are like the shells of people that that were taken over by the heartless, but they had a strong will. It's like, but the Organization 13 are like people with like even stronger wills, but they have no emotions, but they kind of do, but they're pretending. It's like, what the fuck is all this? I thought this was just I thought this was just a kid's game.
Chain of Memories is the game that really brought all that shit into like, and then Kingdom Hearts 2 is like a continuation of all the garbage they brought from that. I guess it gets worse from here too, which sucks, but whatever.
I would at least say though that the writing in Chain of Memories is better than 2. Not to say that the writing in Chain of Memories was great or anything. Don't get me wrong, but it at least dealt with more interesting stuff. Like I'd say some of the things that it discussed concerning memories, like as an idea, was actually like I was like, oh okay, that's neat. Like again, not anything special or anything great, but at least I was like, okay, there's something interesting there. With Kingdom Hearts 2, it's just what the fuck?
Yeah, no, it's crazy. So yeah, I guess now I have to play Birth by Sleep is gonna be the next one. I'm gonna.
Yeah, I played some of that. I apparently there's like 3 campaigns, and I played through one of the campaigns, and I enjoyed it. It's not as good as Kingdom Hearts 2 though by a significant margin, I would say. But I'd say it's probably more enjoyable than Kingdom Hearts 1. The biggest problem with Birth by Sleep though, I would say is, and I think this is a fault of the hardware because it was originally a PSP game, is man, the level design sucks. It's just super basic, super straightforward. And not to say that the level design in Kingdom Hearts 2 was particularly good. It was pretty straightforward and basic as well. But like in Birth by Sleep, I'd say like it feels even more stripped back by comparison.
Interesting. See, I've heard this. I've heard as with the newer entries of the series, the level design gets more simplistic with each game, which That does suck.
which sucks. I mean, for all the things that Kingdom Hearts 2 like trounces the first game on, I would say the one thing the first game like beats the shit out of Kingdom Hearts 2 is the level design. The level design
Yeah.
in Kingdom Hearts 1 was a lot more interesting, was a lot more intricate. I think it incentivized exploration more. It felt like the areas had more nooks and crannies where you can like find treasure, and compared to Kingdom Hearts 2, it feels like everything's just like out in the open.
Yeah,
Very rarely will you like have to go out of your way to find an like a missing treasure chest or a puzzle piece or something.
throw chests all over the place in the second game.
Yeah, yeah, they all over the place. Actually, did you know that the puzzle pieces were not in the original PS2 version?
I had a feeling, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So at least they incentivize exploration a little bit more in this re-release.
one other thing I'd say about Kingdom Hearts 2 is I wish they give you the dodge roll right in the beginning instead of having to level up the limit form to like I think it was like level 3 or something. I know apparently the
Yeah.
dodge roll wasn't in the original second game, which it seems weird to me because I feel that really opens up combat in a way that is like super satisfying.
So you still had the kind of dash thing that you get from the wisdom form. So that was still in the original version, but the actual dodge roll that you get from the limit form, that limit form was not in the original version.
I see. Okay. So yeah,
So technically you still did have a dodge in Kingdom Hearts 2, but just not the dodge roll.
yeah, I found that weird how they kind of got rid of that from the first game, but I guess the 2.5 like the 2.5 version seems like the ideal way to play this game. Like it's like, it seems like they added
Yes.
quite a bit, like especially optional bosses. There's a ton of them added to the game.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I don't know if you went through it. I forget the name of it. I think it's called like the Cave of Ordeals or something. But like it's in Hollow Bastion, and it's this optional area. It was completely added to this version of the game. Like it wasn't in the original at all. It's just this extra area where you need to have leveled up all of your limit forms to the max in order to traverse it, because the I would actually say the level design in that area is the best in the game because it actually like utilizes the platforming. You need to be able to like use all of your like your double jump and your glide and all that stuff. Like you actually have to utilize all of it to traverse this place. And when you get to the end, it has a gauntlet of boss fights that you can choose to fight. Like it has like all these doors and stuff, and you could choose to fight all these different boss fights. Which if I remember correctly, they're all a bunch of boss fights from Chain of Memories.
See, I couldn't get through that place because I didn't have all my forms upgraded.
Yeah, I remember getting to the end, and I remember some of the boss fights were like really fucking brutal.
Yeah, but anyways, other than Kingdom Hearts, the other game I'm playing right now that I'm going through is Life is Strange Before the Storm, and
Ooh,
okay,
ooh,
I
I've
know.
heard things.
Okay, this if there was ever a guilty pleasure game or series, it's this for me. I can recognize that
Okay.
it's not good. The writing it's really what's the word for it? Uh, cringy, I guess.
Problematic.
Well, it's weird because there's actually really good writing in these games. It's just kind of buried. Like there's a lot of good character development, and you know what? I kind of miss the characters and the setting from the first game. I did enjoy it for the most part, and I gotta say I'm having a good time going through this. I think the reason why I like the Life is Strange games is it tackles some like very heavy themes in a respectful way. Like the way it deals with like
Okay.
grief and loss, especially as like a teenager, it's really it's handled well. Like it treats that subject with respect, and I think I don't know, it's the games has a lot of relatable like aspects to it that I thought were like pretty compelling, and it's like there's a lot of these good scenes thrown in there. Like there's one scene in the first episode of Before the Storm where there's like the two nerdy kids playing D&D, and you actually like can join in their game, and they have like this whole scene set up for that where you actually actively partake in their D&D game. You create your own character, and it's just this really charming heartfelt kind of scene that I really admired. I don't know, this game just there's a lot of depressing stuff in it as well too. Like it's not like a entirely happy game, but I don't know, something about it, like a high school melodrama. It just, I don't know, I eat this shit up for some reason, and I just, I don't know, I dig it. I can understand why people hate it though. It's certainly not for everyone. The writing can be really obnoxious at times, like when they're constantly saying hella and just all this shit like that. But I don't know. I think the game is well intentioned, and I think there's some good writing in there that's able to keep me invested, I'd say.
Well, that's cool. I mean, I've only ever played the first game and the first episode of it at that, and I had a pretty strong negative reaction to it. I was not a fan. I didn't like it at all.
That is
Like,
actually probably the one I would say is the worst. Because it doesn't get into the more powerful emotional moments that come later in that first season. Like I'm not going to spoil it, but there's one moment in it's like, I think it's at the end of chapter 3 or before chapter 4, that's like, man, it really hit me hard in a way that many games don't. And it's one of those things that kept me thinking about it for like months after I'd finished it. It really stuck with me, and I think that's why I ended up coming back to this one, as this is like a prequel basically to Life is Strange. And I don't know, I like these characters. I dig it.
hey, more power to you, man. If you dig it, you dig it. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter if I fucking think it sucks.
What have you been playing?
Well, I mentioned that I was playing Kingdom Hearts 2, and that Birth by Sleep, I finished one of the playthroughs, and I started a little bit of 'cause I beat it as Terra, which is like the Chad. He's basically the Chad of the game. He's the big slow dude. And after I beat the game as him, I started up the game as Ventus, who looks exactly like Roxas, which just now I'm just like, what the fuck, game? Like, you just want to make things more complicated. Like, what? Why does he look like that? Whatever. I only just started, so I don't know what the explanation is. But aside from that, another game that I played, and I beat it pretty quickly because the game itself is pretty short. You can actually beat it in an hour, and that is Lisa the First.
Uh,
Have you played it?
so I've played Lisa. I think that Lisa the First might have came out. I don't remember. Did it come out after the original game, or is it actually like a?
No, it came out first. That's why it's called Lisa the
Yeah,
First.
it's weird how I didn't hear about it then before I played Lisa. I knew there was like Lisa, and then there's Lisa the Joyful, but
See, yeah, the one that you play is actually Lisa the Painful.
I played, yeah, but I haven't played the first
Mhm.
one. No.
Well, it's a game you could download for free, and I was really impressed by it. I really liked it a lot. It seemed because I haven't played Painful yet, but it seemed different because I have seen some stuff. Like I saw Video Game Donkey's video on it,
Yeah.
so it seemed like the game has like a black sense of humor to it.
Certainly does. That's one of the things I like about it is the sense of humor. It's mostly gameplay stuff the reason why I dropped it, but the game's
right.
style and humor and the writing I adore.
No, yeah. And it was actually because that game interested me that I went back and played Lisa the First because I was like, oh, well, I should play this one before jumping into Lisa the Painful. And Lisa the First has no humor at all. It is not a funny game in the slightest. It's actually one of the most disturbing games I've ever played. Like it's extremely unsettling. And this is really weird to say about a fucking RPG Maker made game.
The,
And it's not an RPG.
That's interesting because the Lisa the Painful definitely was disturbing in a lot of ways, but it had a lot of humor to it, certainly. So it's interesting to hear that the first game is just completely dark.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything because like it's such a short game. But I was actually thinking of one of these days doing like a commentary video on the game, like kind of like a let's play, but a little more like involved. Just try to kind of dissect the game and analyze it because I think it's like really fascinating. It was really interesting. There's actually a lot to discuss with that game, and it's just an idea I have kicking around. I don't know when I'll get around to it, but I would say like if you haven't played it yet, give it a shot. It's free. I do have to warn though, if you are the faint of heart, like it's like again, it may just be an RPG maker game, so there's only so much that can be done. Like it's not going to completely gross you out or anything, but the subject matter is pretty fucking heavy. So I'm just throwing it out there, like if you're a little queasy about that sort of thing, maybe not try it. But otherwise, it's free, it's super short, not even an hour long. I do have to warn that there is one part of the game where you have to deal with some spiders, and that is the fucking worst part of the game. Like, that part fucking sucks. Like, you have to avoid these spiders, and every time they touch you, they send you back to the start of the area. And it's so bad.
That kind of thing is why I dropped at least the painful. There's a lot of stuff like that in that game, and there's a lot of like there's a lot of like parts where it's like without a guide, it's very hard to know where you're supposed to go. It's a very maze-like game, and it's just there's so much backtracking too. It gets really obnoxious. I think the actual design of the game is where it kind of falls apart for me, which sucks because I like almost everything else about it, but.
That's a shame, but at least
you'll probably still like it. I think.
At least with the first game, it was only one part.
Yeah, no, there's a lot like that.
Yeah, I would say that Lisa, the first is probably closer to a walking simulator than anything else, because there's no aside from like avoiding the spiders, there's no real gameplay to it. It's literally just walking around. You find some items and that's it.
At least the painful is like a pretty simplistic Dragon Quest style battle system in the style like Earthbound or something, but even more simplistic than Earthbound, I would say.
I guess that's all I've really been playing. I haven't really been playing anything else, so let's jump into the news. Now, there hasn't been a lot of interesting news as of late, so we're just going to talk about the Nintendo Direct. Now, I have like a kind of an iffy relationship with Nintendo. Like, sometimes I love them, sometimes I hate them. But I thought this was a pretty good Direct overall. Like, obviously I didn't care about everything that they showed, but I think they did show some pretty cool stuff overall. And I think they had a few highlights.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people think this was like this amazing Direct. I wouldn't go that far, but I did think it was pretty good. There were some problems. I think the main thing is just like ports. Like it's so many ports, man.
Yeah. We had the Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story. I mean, that's more of a remake than a port, but it's still like, kind of a port.
Interesting. They skipped Partners in Time for a remake. The one that actually probably needed a remake more so than Bowser's Inside Story, because that game was already like great. But maybe that's why they chose it, because everyone loves Inside Story.
Yeah, I think that's probably why. I know that Bowser's Inside Story is like a fan favorite.
Still think the first game's the best, but
yeah, I haven't played any of these games. I'm more of a Paper Mario guy. But I should play them. Like I hear that the Mario and Luigi games are good.
Yeah, the first three are really good. Partners in Time, a lot of people hate. I think I really liked it. I thought having 4 party members at once, like I think a lot of people thought it was too confusing, but I thought it was actually like overwhelming in a good way. Like it made a lot more challenging. It's probably one of the harder Mario RPGs out there.
Cool. Yeah, I'll probably play the first one before jumping into the other ones. Did you play the remake of the first one?
I want to because I haven't played the first one since it came out back in like 2003. So I'm definitely gonna grab it at some point.
Okay, because I wanted to get your insight and see like if I should stick with the first one, the original version, or play the remake.
From what I've seen, the remake seems to be better. Like flat out,
Okay.
I would probably just play the remake.
Okay. All right. So, what from the direct stood out to you the most?
Okay, so the most exciting things for me are first WarioWare for 3DS. Do I wish it was for the Switch? Yeah, the 3DS just refuses to die.
Yeah, it
But
does.
WarioWare is one of my favorite series, and it's been so long since we've gotten a new one. Game and Wario does not count. uh, and it's cool that it's taking like mini games from all the best mini games. It's got like tilting ones from like Twisted. It's got like touchscreen mini games, button mini games. It looks like a great package, and it's just I'm pretty excited to play like WarioWare again.
Cool, cool. I never really got into the Wario games personally, so
Have you played one?
uh, nope, never played one.
It's
Actually, I think I played one of the Game Boy ones for a little bit, and that's it.
interesting game. It's a unique way to tackle like a minigame compilation where you have like these 5 second mini games and you're doing a bunch of them in a row and you have like basically like lives, and then the way they kind of package that, there's all sorts of different modes. Usually they can be really fun multiplayer too. The one on GameCube had excellent 4 player like multiplayer, like competition based, that I really liked. I don't know, I think the 3DS one, this one seems to be more like a single player type experience, but really really awesome, funny, creative series that I think deserves a little more attention, I think, as far as like Nintendo series go.
I think one of the WarioWare games had a mini game where I think you're playing as either a wrestler or like this girl who's like interviewing the wrestler, and it was a weird thing where like you had to like say the right thing and the wrestler would be like, "Huh, yeah," like
So if I'm not mistaken, it could possibly be a minigame in WarioWare, but I know that's a Rhythm Heaven minigame where
oh okay.
where it's actually it's to the music, where her responses go along with the music. That's the best minigame in Rhythm Heaven. That one is so good. I think
Oh
I don't think
okay.
it's actually in WarioWare, but that's another
Ah, I fucked
series
up.
that's amazing. That minigame is awesome.
Shit. I don't know my shit. Fuck.
You should play Rhythm Heaven Fever on the Wii. That's the one that has that mini game. It's so good, that I love that.
Yeah, never played it. I don't. I see. I don't usually go for like these mini game compilations.
They're usually, but WarioWare and Rhythm Heaven, it developed by the same company actually, like the same team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's
That
probably
makes a
why.
lot of sense. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, because like the visuals are very very similar, but yeah,
Okay. Well, one thing in particular that stood out to me was Octopath Traveler.
this was the next thing I was
Fu-
gonna bring up. Yeah.
Yeah. So I pretty recently got a Switch, and I played the Octopath Traveler demo and was really impressed by it. I mean, uh, Primrose's story took me by surprise. I was like, "Holy shit! This game looks like a 16-bit RPG made to look like a like a bit of a modern game almost." Like almost like they took the visuals of a 16-bit RPG and they like stretched it out. And they so it still has this like old school aesthetic, but it's dealing with such mature themes and like content. I was like really taken aback. I was like, Jesus Christ, Primrose is basically like, you know, being abused, and it's pretty strongly implying that she's like, you know, servicing her master sexually, and I was just like, whoa, what the fuck? But it doesn't come across as like for shock value, or you know, it feels like it's just part of the story that's being told, and it doesn't feel artificially thrown in to shock the audience. Like it was pretty well written. I was and the combat was really good too. Like it had some neat twists to the turn-based RPG formula with the way that you can like uh, you get certain stocks after certain turns, and then you can use those power stocks to increase the power of your attacks. So there's some strategy in like when and how many power stocks to use. So I really really dug the demo, and the fact that this game's coming out in a few months, I'm day one, totally.
Yeah, the I played through the demo too, and I was also very impressed. Like it's, man, this game looked like the visuals are so good. It's like
They're so good, yeah.
it's crazy. The music is fantastic. The writing, like you said, yeah, it's a lot heavier than I was expecting, which is good. It reminds me, as far as tone goes, I was definitely reminded of FF Tactics as well as Final Fantasy VI. It
Yes, yes, tactics. I didn't immediately think that, but now that you bring it up, like, yeah, it's very tactics, which is, that you want to be like tactics.
system's super good as well. Like these guys made the Bravely Default games, which were both excellent. So this is gonna be really good. I'm definitely looking forward to it. I'm not gonna get that limited edition. It's probably gonna be too
No,
expensive.
yeah, fuck that.
But I'm definitely buying it day one for sure.
No, yeah, like I just want the game. I don't care about like the art book or whatever.
Well, that
But yeah, I'm super excited.
might be a Square Enix exclusive, a store exclusive, and whatever. And the shipping to Canada on that website is absolutely bonkers. Not worth it.
Fuck that.
Uh,
Anything else from the direct that caught your eye?
So, it's interesting because like there's a lot of I think the next big thing is probably Dark Souls remastered and the fucking Solaire amiibo, which is
Yes.
okay. I actually joked about this to a couple of friends because it seemed such a random thing that Nintendo would never do, and they did it. And
They did it.
I have to have it. The problem is it's apparently very limited. It's already sold out on GameStop in the States, which
Oh
apparently it's
no.
exclusive to. So like I'm a little lucky because I'll be able to get one working at a game store. But it's yeah, I've had there's already a couple friends that have asked me to see if I can get them one because it seems to be a pain in the ass to get, which sucks. I wish it was. I don't know why it needs to be limited. Everyone wants the fucking thing. It's goddamn Solaire. I hate amiibos, but I'm gonna buy this.
And dude, fucking like, I don't think anyone's gonna fight me on this. Fucking Solaire, one of the best goddamn characters in all of Souls.
Best character.
One of the fucking best. Maybe even the best. He is awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna get Dark Souls on Switch as well. I'm gonna get it for Switch and PS4. Crazily enough, like I'm not much of
Oh
a
fuck
fan.
that. I don't think I need to go that far. I might just
Normal
get
Dark
the
Souls is
PC version and call it a day.
You go to like the really good frame rate, but I mean, other than that, there's a lot of ports for games that I think are cool that they're on Switch, even though I've
Okay,
already
I
played
need
them.
I need to ask you: are you gonna get Undertale again on Switch?
I've got the physical PS4 version. I think I'm good. I got that.
Dude,
collector's
but
edition.
you don't wanna fight Sans while you're taking a shit on the toilet.
Version though, so you can already have it portable too. So I don't know. But yeah, it's exciting because more people are going to get to play Undertale, which is I'm all for that. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, I'm not going to buy it again.
I almost forgot like the Vita version. You're right. Fuck.
Yeah, there's already kind of a portable version. Like Crash Trilogy is crazy that Crash Bandicoot's on a Nintendo platform, and I really enjoyed that trilogy. But again,
Well,
I've already played it.
well, technically, if you wanna, go back in time, there was a GBA Crash Bandicoot game.
That's true. That's true. I forgot about that.
Actually, I think there were multiple.
I think yeah, you might be right. You might be right.
Yeah. So it's actually not as out there. I mean, we tend to associate Crash with PlayStation specifically, but after a while, I mean, Crash just kind of went all over the place, and Crash actually became like multi-platform for some of the later games, but people don't really talk about those games.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else in the direct that caught your eye?
Um, I mean, I don't even own Splatoon 2, but I like I wasn't even sure what I was looking at when the Octo expansion DLC trailer popped up. Like that whole trailer just like threw me off. I was just like sitting there. I was just like, what the fuck am I watching? Like this girl is just like walking like with purpose, and then the music's just like, I don't know, like it felt like the music was like beating me down, and I was just like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, Splatoon's weird. It's very strange, and like Splatoon 2, I liked it. The multiplayer I couldn't get into, which is the reason why people play those games. I actually kind of like the campaign, but not enough to want DLC for it, even though it does look pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I was just so taken aback by the trailer for the DLC. I just felt like talking about it. It was just like, what the fuck is with this
It was
trailer?
bizarre. It was a bizarre trailer. Yeah. What?
And oh, another really weird detail is the two squid girls, or rather Pearl and Marina. That's their names.
Yeah.
Pearl has the tilted crown like Biggie Smalls, and fucking Marina has like the do-rag wrapped around her head, the same as Tupac. And I'm just like, like, what? Was that intentional?
I don't know. That's
It was so weird.
That'd be
Like, what
weird.
a bizarre fucking reference.
was.
Yeah, it was out there, but whatever. I think like the final thing of note of the direct was Super Smash Brothers with its like super like fucking unnecessarily intimidating like trailer. Like you have the Squid Kids just like playing, having a good time or whatever, and then all of a sudden like the fucking Smash logo appears in flames. It looks like it's the apocalypse, while like Link and Mario are like staring them down, like they're just gonna like beat the shit out of these Squid Kids. Like it was so weird.
It was, yeah. It was oddly, intense for some reason. That's the thing that got everyone excited. I think about this direct. It's weird. Like Smash Brothers used to be one of my favorite series back at like with Melee and Brawl, but I don't know. I'm not into it anymore. Competitive games just don't do anything for me anymore. Maybe there's some friends that will want to play with me, and I'll like have friends over and play it as like a party game or whatever. But I can't say I'm excited for it, and I think it is going to be just a port of the Wii U one, like an expanded port, especially because it's coming out this year. I don't see it being an entirely new game.
I don't know if it was a port. I mean, I don't think they would have made as big of a deal about it. Like, cause that trailer was fucking intense.
It was, yeah. I still wonder. I part of me, I don't know. I just feel like it's still going to be a very heavily expanded version of that Wii U game.
I don't know. I think if it was just a simple port, they would have just said, "Oh, look, we're porting it." I feel like this is gonna be a new game. Like if it was a port, I really honestly don't think they would have been this mysterious about it, and they would have like made this like really fucking intense trailer with like Mario looking like he wants blood.
Yeah, I think people would actually probably be pretty pissed off too if it ended up just being a port.
Yeah, so I mean they've drummed up enough hype at this point with that trailer that like if it ended up being a port, I people would just revolt.
Yeah, what else with the direct? It was a lot of ports like South Park and
Hyrule Warriors,
yeah.
which is really good. Like Hyrule Warriors is like, even if you're not a fan of Muso games, I would recommend Hyrule Warriors. That game is awesome.
It's pretty decent, yeah. Okami is getting a port. That detective
Luigi's Mansion
Yeah,
pisses me off.
Yeah.
That pisses me off. Like, why put it on the 3DS? Just give us an HD version on the Switch. What are you doing?
Demake almost. I I can't be that mad because I haven't actually played the game, and this is a good way for me to play it since I don't have a Wii or a GameCube. But yeah, it should have been on Switch.
Yeah. I mean, I love this game. It's a really good game. Luigi's Mansion is awesome. So that's why I'm mad because I'm like, should just put it on the Switch.
The thing I was kind of mad about is the Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. Like of all the Wii U games to port to the Switch, it's that one. Which a lot of people love that game. I'll never understand. I think that game is boring as fuck. Like it actually puts me
Oh
to
man,
sleep.
I like that game. I'm sorry.
You do?
I
Everyone
really
likes
do.
that.
I'm not even joking. I genuinely like it because it's. I get where you mean. Like it's kind of boring, but like I just find it so relaxing. Like it's such a it's such a chill game. It's just engaging enough, but it's just chill enough. It, like for me, it hits that sweet spot where I'm just like playing it and having a good time.
Yeah, I guess it's like it is that like that for me for a lot of people. Yeah, for me it was just like it's one of the few games where I think I actually did fall asleep playing it one time.
I think I've only ever fallen asleep playing a game like once or twice. I can't even remember what games they were, but like it's pretty rare, and it's usually just because like not because the game itself put me to sleep, but just because of I didn't get enough sleep.
I guess the last thing well, okay, Mario Tennis they talked about for way too much. I don't give a shit about that game, but
No, yeah, I was just like they spent a long time on that one too, and I was just like, man, fuck this game, move on.
is I think
I'm sure little kids will like it, but whatever.
a Mario Golf game with like RPG elements, like a console one, like the GPA versions, maybe would I'd probably place that. But other than that, Mario sports games, nah.
Oh, I was also a little disappointed with Travis Strikes Again. Uh, because I really like No More Heroes 1 and 2. So it was kind of a bummer to see like, oh, this is just some like weird mini game compilation thing as opposed to the proper third game in the series.
Weird. It doesn't look that bad. Like I might still play it. I don't know.
No,
It's weird though.
yeah, I mean, no, I agree. It doesn't look bad. It's just I want 3. I don't want this.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were expecting 3, but I find it weird how they went in this direction with it. But yeah,
I think that's it for.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
bunch of random other stuff like Defective Pikachu. That's like whatever, but
Fucking Detective Pikachu.
bizarre. I mean, a part of me wants to almost
Who greenlit this?
his voice. The voice actor for it is so weird. Like I don't know. It's an odd. Looks like an odd game.
Yeah, it sounds like I'm an old middle-aged man or something.
Yeah, that game's weird.
Like this to me is on the same level of like Sharknado on like just like who the fuck greenlit this? Like who went into an office and said I want to make a movie about a shark tornado. And comparatively, I want to make a game about fucking Pikachu as a detective. Like to me, those ideas are just so fucking bizarre and out there. They are like on the same level. It's like just why?
Yeah, I don't get it. Apparently that game's been out in Japan for a long time, actually. I think it's supposed to be like a Layton type game. Like it's very similar to.
I never played any of the Layton games. I only ever played the Ace Attorney games, which for some reason people compare them all the time.
Yeah, I guess maybe because of the crossover, but yeah, they're not really anything alike, really.
Yeah. So you want to jump into the questions?
Yeah, let's move on to the questions.
So we have our first question by Bufudine. He says, "Hi guys. Since we're all pretty excited for Devil May Cry 5 being all but officially confirmed, rather, is there anything you're hoping will be included, improved, or removed from 4? He goes on to say, I'm assuming slash hoping slash praying Itsuno's team aren't taking too many pages from Ninja Theory's book when I ask this. I think we can all agree on that. So
Yeah.
I'm the big Devil May Cry nerd here. You haven't played any of the games, have you?
I played all of them actually. Well, except
Oh,
for
okay.
Ninja Theory's one. I wouldn't say I'm like a super fan or anything like that, but I enjoy all of them except for two, obviously.
Well, I am a super fan, so yeah, two sucks. Fuck two. But yeah, as far as like what they should improve or remove compared to four, well, obviously, let's not have a game that reuses the same levels
I was
for
gonna
like
say that. That's like the big
the
one.
second half of the game. So I mean, if they're gonna go the route of like multiple characters again, like they did with four, I think that's fine. Just they need a different approach. Like I would say, maybe similar to what Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep does, where at the start of the game you choose, okay, I want to play through the game as Dante, I want to play through the game as Virgil, I want to play through the game as Nero, and they have their own stories, they have their own levels, and they have their own things that they do, and maybe there'll be a level or two here and there that are the same because they meet up in those levels, and but then they go off and do their own thing again, and they have their own unique adventures. That's how that would be the ideal choice for me, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd like to see maybe I don't know if I'd say expanded focus, but exploration I've always feel has been kind of like a key component with the Devil May Cry games. Like they're not like entirely linear games. There's always some exploration with like collectibles and upgrading your character and things like that. One thing I've noticed with like the Bayonetta games, for instance, is that they're very like linear with hardly any exploration, especially the second Bayonetta game. And I hope they don't take like influence from that with this new one, because I did like the minor puzzle solving elements in the Devil May Cry games and just the exploration that you had to do at times. So I hope that's still like a thing with the new one.
They were nice pace breakers, like
Yeah.
it wasn't anything major, but like occasionally they throw in like, oh, here's a puzzle, just take a break from combat.
Yeah, I that's one of those parts I think a lot of people don't really talk about with those games, but I always liked about them.
Now, I will say though, I mean, because Bufudine jokingly is like, "Oh, let's hope they don't take inspiration from Ninja Theory." If there is one thing to take from Ninja Theory's reboot, is that the platforming in it is actually pretty decent. So if they were to take anything from that game, it would be that, because the platforming in uh, pretty much all of the original games is terrible. Like those games were not made for platforming, even though they shoehorn platforming in there anyways. Even like the jumping mechanics are built for the combat and it works for the combat, but whenever you have to like jump on a platform or something, like it just falls apart.
Yeah, especially in like the first game combined with like the fixed camera angles, it was a pain in the ass at times.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, I mean, honestly, as far as like improving, just I don't know. The combat in
It's
four is pretty spectacular. So like if they can innovate on that, like kudos, because fucking A, combat in four is awesome.
Yeah, I always did love the weapon styles too with Dante.
Yeah. Being able to switch styles on the fly in Devil May Cry 4 was so good. Just
Yeah.
like in midair, go to switch to the trickster so you can do the air dash, and then switch to the sword master so you can do an air combo. It's like so good.
Yep.
So the next question, we have a few questions here by Double Dash 3173. He asks, what are your most anticipated games of 2018? Which Zelda game has the best soundtrack? Best video game waifu? Worst video game soundtrack? And this is a question for you, Floyd. He asks, have you ever thought about making a channel where you review movies and TV shows? So, what I would say for like most anticipated games of 2018, for me, it's Yakuza 6.
Yeah, that's pretty soon now, actually.
Yeah, it is. Although they did delay it.
Did you hear about the? You heard about the demo thing, right?
Yeah, I did. Oh, that was embarrassing. For the uninitiated, they uploaded the demo, but the thing is, if you played the demo before it finished downloading, because you could do that where if something reaches a certain amount of uh, download, like even if it's not like fully downloaded, it will allow you to start playing. Well, if you did this, it actually unlocks the full game, and they had to pull the demo because of that.
They,
And if you
yeah,
had downloaded the demo and then logged back in and went back online, then they remove it. They removed it from your system.
it's crazy. People were already able to beat the game using that.
Oh fuck!
Yeah,
Damn.
yeah, no, it was pretty crazy.
Well, I'm sure those people like unplugged their systems from the internet and played it offline. But yeah, that's nuts. Are there any other games though that you're looking forward to this year?
Monster Hunter was the game and already came out, but Kingdom Hearts 3, and I stand by it. I think that game is actually coming out this year. If I
Wow.
was a betting man, I would actually bet on that. Uh, and yeah, after playing Kingdom Hearts 2, if they can improve the combat even more and the way that game looks, and then fucking Toy Story World, dude, I'm all in.
Fucking Monsters Inc. world.
There's Inc. World, yeah, yeah. I love how they're abandoning Pixar movies. Love Pixar
I
movies.
know. Like dude, I remember when Kingdom Hearts 2 came out. I was so I mean, the game was awesome when I was in high school, and I still loved it. But I remember going like, man, why can't we have a Toy Story world? That'd be awesome. And now I'm like, it's like fucking 10 years later, and now there's a Toy Story world, and I'm like, yes, as a fucking grown ass man.
Yeah. All three of them are fantastic. Like they're kind of movies that are as a kid they're enjoyable, and as an adult, like they actually still have very.
The ending to Toy Story 3 though kind of bugged me. I always thought it was weird. But aside from that, 3 is a good movie.
The first one's probably still my favorite. I really like this one.
Yeah, I'd agree. The first one's the strongest. But his next question: which Zelda game has the best soundtrack?
The
Um, hmm. This is probably nostalgia speaking, but Link to the Past for me.
oh, Zelda, man, the Zelda games have such great soundtracks, especially the older ones. But for me, it's got to be Majora's Mask. I think the
Yeah, yeah, that one's
track
strong. That
is
was good.
so important in creating that game's atmosphere, and it's the atmosphere is like my favorite thing about it. And the moody, like somber songs in that game just really stuck with me. Like the end of the world song that plays when there's like only 5 minutes left before the world's about to like the moon's about to crash down and destroy everything is just so it's so memorable, and it's just it the way it kind of combines with like the way you're feeling and the way the townspeople are talking to you. It's just it's so emotional. It's like the soundtrack in that game is Koji Kondo pulled off something spectacular with that soundtrack, and I really love how there's one song in the game that plays in each of the four areas, and it's the same song, but the instrumentation is different depending on the area, and it each gives that certain area a certain atmosphere depending on the instruments used. It's a creative soundtrack that not only is amazing outside of the game, but the way it adds to the atmosphere is just it's impeccable. It's definitely my favorite soundtrack in that series, but Ocarina of Time is also classic. Like that soundtrack has so many good songs, and Link to the Past is also amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with anything you said about Majora's Mask soundtrack, but for me, I mean, A Link to the Past is my favorite Zelda game. That game is too close to me. So the music in it to me is just so iconic and memorable, and like just I can hear all the music in my head just thinking about the game. Like it's just so good.
Yeah, the Dark World theme in Link to the Past is one of the all-time best video game songs.
Yeah, definitely. Now, this is a pretty funny question, but what is your video game waifu?
Oh yeah, this is this is funny. It was, let's go something recent, I guess. Makoto from Persona 5.
Damn, fuck, that's a good one.
It is
I'm
good.
not even mad. That's good.
Mitsuru from Persona 3.
Yeah, Mitsuru, top shelf waifu right there. I'm gonna go with Tyr from Tales of the Abyss.
Ah, that's a good choice. Actually, that's a good one.
Fuck yeah. Oh, I love Tyr. She's a fantastic character and super hot. So, yeah, that's my choice. Now, what about worst video game soundtrack? See, this is difficult because I can't really think of a whole lot of games with like flat out bad soundtracks. Like at worst, a soundtrack will just like blend in the background. You don't even think about it, and it just doesn't impact the experience at
Yeah.
all. But I can't think of a whole lot of games with like soundtracks that just made me go like, "Oh, this is fucking garbage."
Yeah, actually, yeah, I completely agree with you. That's why this is always an interesting topic to me when people bring up like worst soundtracks. Because yeah, there's a lot of soundtracks I don't like that much. Like orchestral soundtracks, I typically don't like because it just tends to blend into the background. But if I don't know if you've heard the soundtrack for Sonic Brotherhood on DS, the BioWare
Oh, I
Sonic
think I.
RPG.
Oh shit! I've never played it, but I actually have heard a couple of tracks, and woo boy,
The worst.
they're not good.
Absolutely the worst. It sounds like someone's like mashing keys on a Casio keyboard. It is the worst. It's actually hilarious how bad it is. People go check out songs from that game on YouTube. It's something. It's mind-boggling.
I. But you know what? For me, I think the worst video game soundtrack that I've ever heard is the director's cut version of Resident Evil.
The basement song. It sounds like
The one that sounds like clowns farting.
I honestly don't know what they were thinking. Like, how did that even make it into the game?
Because the guy that wrote it was supposedly deaf, apparently. Except it turns out he wasn't actually deaf.
That
Years
story,
later.
yeah. That yeah. Wow, what a crazy. Yeah, that's just a story.
Yeah, that story was nuts. It turns out like because he was praised as being like the because like the music in that game sucks, but like eventually went on to actually produce like really great music afterwards, and people were like praising him as like the second coming of like Bach or something. And then it turns out like not only did he fake being deaf, he wasn't even the one that made the music. It was someone else. So yeah, that story was nuts.
A couple stories like that with Japanese composers. The Dragon Quest composer, I want to say, a denier of like Japanese atrocities committed in World War II. So
Oh,
yeah,
what the fuck?
that's a pretty fucked up story.
Uh,
I think it's
that
out there, yeah.
that hurts to hear because I love Dragon Quest Eight's soundtrack. Like that game has like a wonderful soundtrack.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no. It's a lot of people are bummed by that.
Well, last question here is directed squarely at you. Have you ever thought about making a channel where you review movies or TV shows? I would like say you don't really need to make a new channel if you wanted to do
Yeah,
that.
I do it on my main channel, and I find like if I was to create a new channel for specifically for that, it'd be like the subscriber count would be so low that it's not really worth it to me. Like I can just people will still watch it on my main channel. I feel so. Yeah,
Right.
it's something I want to do more of though, because I always do enjoy doing those types of videos.
Sweet. Now, next we have Nano Retro. He has a few questions. He asks, any game that really surprised you by how much you ended up enjoying it? One you didn't expect much from? And games that folks generally consider extremely difficult that you feel you're able to get pretty good at. His examples are Hotline Miami 1 and 2. So, for the first question, a game that surprised you by how much you enjoyed it and one you didn't expect much from. For you, wouldn't that be Kingdom Hearts 2?
Yeah, pretty much, because I'd consider it one of the best action RPGs I've ever played, and it's a series that I dismissed for the longest time. And I'd almost consider myself a fan at this point, just because that second game is so good. So yeah, you know what? It is. It's got to be Kingdom Hearts 2, I think.
I think maybe Undertale. Not because I expected it to be bad, but I didn't expect to like it quite as much as I did. So I think that would be my answer. Because I remember going into it, and I actually avoided Undertale for the longest time just because the hype was like unbearable. It's just similarly why I haven't played Final Fantasy VI yet, because like fans can be suffocating about it, and I find that really annoying. So when I finally went into Undertale, I actually tried to temper my expectations a bit and be like, all right, it's probably going to be a decent game, but, don't expect it to be amazing. And I think probably because I did that, it ended up impressing me even more. And I was just like, oh, shit, this is amazing. So, yeah, there we go. That's my answer.
Yeah, I guess one other thing for me is Yooka-Laylee, because I think people shit on it so much that I was expecting it to be this terrible game, and I actually enjoyed it. I wouldn't say it's like one of my all-time favorite games or anything like that, but I did like it. I definitely did not hate it like everyone else did.
Cool. Now, the next question, games that people generally consider to be extremely difficult that you feel that you're able to get pretty good at. For me, it's the first Dark Souls, because I've beaten that game twice, and I didn't really have that much trouble with it. I find the other Souls games to be more challenging than the first Dark Souls. In fact, my friend Gilgamesh, I remember very vividly him going like, "What the fuck?" when I told him this. But like, I beat Ornstein and Smo on my first try, and then when I beat the game a second time, I beat them again on my first try.
Yeah, you don't hear that too often. It took me a while to my first time beating those guys.
I don't know. I mean, and I'm not trying to brag, saying like I'm some amazing Souls player. Like, there have been other games in the series where like, the bosses kicked my ass. Like, I'll say that, especially in like the Dark Souls 3 DLC, some of the boss fights in the DLC in the Ringed City like fucking like wasted me. But no, yeah, I mean, Dark Souls 1, I just don't think it's that hard. I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird because the first time I played it, I struggled a lot because it was my introduction to the entire series. But the second half of the game, I was like, definitely got better at it, and I didn't die too much. And then, as I've gone back to it after playing the rest of the series, I do actually find it to be one of the easier ones in the series. It probably is actually the easiest.
I think part of it for me was that I had actually beaten Demon Souls before going into Dark Souls.
Yeah, it might be one of the reasons. But for me, I guess it might be the original Mega Man entire series almost. I feel like a lot of people will rank them as like some of the hardest games on the NES, and I'm always confused by that because I think they're far easier than people think they are. But maybe that's just because I've been playing them for so long. Like, I've been playing them since I was 4 years old, and I've replayed them multiple times. So I've probably gotten to the point where I am good at them, because when I watch other people play that haven't played Mega Man that much, I play the first or the second game. It's kind of an interesting experience watching them like keep dying constantly. But yeah, I guess it's probably like the original Mega Man in particular. I actually don't find to be that hard. People seem to think it's like one of the hardest games.
Are you looking forward to the re-releases of the Mega Man X series?
Definitely X, at least the X4, and I
X4 is fucking awesome.
X6 I is a guilty pleasure game. I like it. I like how punishing it is. I think there's something about it that keeps me back to
Oh,
it.
I hate that game.
No, I completely understand it. It's a terrible game. The design of it is so sloppy, but it's so over the top difficult that I don't know. There's something about it. I guess I like
it
the
it's at least better than X7 though. X7 is the fucking worst X game.
7. Ugh. I gotta play it again too. The X collection. I gotta play it again.
I think you need to give X8 another chance because you shat on it, and you know what? I think that game gets way more shit than it deserves. I think X8 is a good fucking game.
When this collection comes out, to see if I still think this. Maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised this time.
I think you will be. I think you will be. Give it another chance. I think that game is honestly like one of the better X games. Like obviously it doesn't touch X1 or X4. It's not nearly that good, but I think it's a pretty solid game in its own right. I think it's a solid entry in the series. But moving on, Whole Clip asks thoughts on the Final Fantasy series, best and worst FF games. So, I guess I'll say for me, the best games in the series are obviously Tactics. Like
Yep.
that's number one, just no contest. I would say 7. I think 7 is really good, especially if you play it with a proper translation, because the original translation is complete dog shit. It's terrible. If you play that game with like an actual proper translation, it's so much better. It's like night and day.
I need to do that one of these days.
Oh yeah, like
Even with the shitty translation, I still really like FF7 actually.
no, yeah. I mean, I think like the strengths of the story still shine through. Like it's a good story. It's just hampered by like grammatical errors and like just some really bad translation. Like did you know that fucking Kate Sith is supposed to talk with a Scottish accent?
I think so. Yeah, I think I've read that somewhere.
Yeah, you would never have known that had you just gone based on the game. Like it doesn't. There's actually a line of dialogue that doesn't make any sense where like the character that's controlling Kate Sith is trying to speak to someone in real life and also trying to speak to the team, and he forgets to stop speaking in his accent, and then one of the characters is like, "Oh, why are you speaking funny?" And that still remains in the in that shitty translation. But like, since you don't know that that character is supposed to be speaking in an accent, the line makes zero sense in that context. That's how bad this translation is. There's like way more examples, but anyways, I'd also say FF9 is up there as one of the better ones.
Yeah.
Absolutely, 9 is really good.
And a Final Fantasy game, I would say.
Yeah, 9 is awesome. Like, great characters, fantastic music, just an all-around great game. I don't think it has like anything about it that's just like glaringly flawed. Like everything about that game is just consistently good. Not to say it has no flaws, just that like where it counts, it is consistently good. But as for some of the worst games in the series, I'd say Final Fantasy II is pretty bad. That one is.
Yeah. It's rough.
That one is pretty fucking terrible. Had you asked me this like a couple of years ago, I may have thrown 10 under the bus here. I think I've softened on 10. Like, I don't particularly like 10, but as time has gone on, I've started to appreciate more what it does right. And I look back on it now, I'm like, you know what, 10 is alright. It's not a terrible game.
Yeah, I've looked back on it favorably now after playing 15. Like 15 made me realize, oh, you know what? 10 wasn't that bad.
Yeah, the visuals, the music, the combat, all of that is pretty stellar in 10. Like even if the writing has some pretty notable issues, even in the writing there are some interesting aspects. So, you know, 10 is all right. Let's see. Final Fantasy 3 is actually
I don't like it.
not terrible, but not that good. Like pretty
It's
not great.
like, I mean, it was the introduction of like the job system, so I'll always kind of respect it for that. But I mean, 5 is so much better in every way in
Oh yeah,
regards to that.
like
So
3 feels like a gimped version of 5.
good stepping stone for like some of the great later entries. But yeah, as a game on its own, yeah, it's not very good.
Yeah, definitely. And I know you won't agree with this, but I guess maybe it's not that bad. But 8, it's kind of not great in my opinion.
Uh, yeah, no, I'll always be a FF8 defender. It's some of my favorite like actual gameplay in the series. I just loved breaking that game. I love Triple Triad. I like the combat, the
Triple
options.
Triad is awesome. Triple Triad is super good, and I'll also say that I think FF8 has the best soundtrack in the series.
It's like FF7 and 8. I'm very like I keep going back and forth, but some days I think FF8 has the best soundtrack in this.
Like I honestly, if Final Fantasy VII's soundtrack wasn't MIDI, I think it might have edged out 8. But since 8 soundtrack, uses actual like proper instruments, like I think that gives it an edge.
Yeah. Um, series. I mean, like thoughts on the whole. I think it's like tragic. It's a tragic series because I think it's been shit since 13. Really,
Oh yeah,
FF12
I almost forgot about 13. You know
yeah
what? I'll throw 13 down as one of the worst. There you go.
is it's if I'm not counting like 2, it's the worst. I think I'd play 3 over 13. Honestly, I really do not like Final Fantasy 13, and 15 I think is one of the worst. I know people like it. I think I don't know. I could never understand it. It's like just a sloppy battle system, horrible, confusing story, and the way it's told is just lousy. It's a, a waste of an open world. It's horrible optional content. It's no, just do not like
You,
15.
I played the demo of the PC version of 15, and the combat felt a lot better
I've
in
heard
the
they
in.
haven't proved it, but I don't know. There's something about that combat that just is not fun to me.
Honestly, I had a lot more fun with the combat when I was playing the PC version, so I'm thinking maybe of giving it another chance. But I'm gonna be waiting for a sale because, for one, it's the game is huge. It's like 150 gigabytes. Like, get the fuck out
Oh,
of here.
Jesus.
Yeah, it is enormous. And two, it's still like full price, so I'm like, I'm waiting. No thanks.
Yeah. Final Fantasy VI is a game I've wanted to go back to because it's the first one I played and finished, and I already forget a lot of it, even though I remember really enjoying it. I think it's of all the games, it's the one that if I played now, I would appreciate it even more, and it might actually jump up to maybe my favorite or second favorite. I don't know. I look back on that game, I'm like, shit, yeah, I really want to play that again. FF5 is great. Just the job system is so good. FF Tactics is the best Final Fantasy game. Uh,
It is objectively. You can't argue with this.
uh, eight eight is probably like to me the one that surprised me the most. I after hearing everybody shit on it, I was surprised by how much I enjoyed it. It's probably the one I'd say is the most overrated, even though I still really like it. A classic that I thought would like based on the hype, I thought maybe I wouldn't like it that much, but I ended up really enjoying it. Like the series, yeah, I think Final Fantasies 4 through 12 are really good. 12 is actually probably my second favorite. Well, after Tactics and 9, like 12 is
I'm not
excellent.
not surprising since like 12 was made by the same guy that made Tactics. Well, most of it anyways, it becomes pretty evident that like because he got sick and he had to bow out of the development, and it becomes pretty obvious playing the game that like there are certain elements that just like clash horribly, and you're like, wait a minute, this feels very tactics, but this definitely doesn't.
For sure, yeah. The interesting thing with 8 and 12, 8 and 12 are the only ones where I've actually done all the optional content, or at least most of it. No other Final Fantasy game has made me compelled to actually do all that side stuff. I don't know what it is with those two games, but those are the two that I got most into in that way.
All right, so next question is by Terry309. He asks, what are your gaming pet peeves? For me, it would be puzzles and booby traps. No wonder he doesn't like the Souls games. What video game has your favorite art style and favorite racing game? So, a pet peeve of mine would have to be escort missions because they fucking suck.
It's a classic pet peeve.
Yes. The only game that I can think of, the only two games I can think of where I was okay with it is in Ico and Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because, like, man, because here's the thing that is really infuriating about an escort mission is that you didn't lose because of your skill. You lost because of the AI. The AI is incompetent. You lost because the other character did something stupid. You lost because while you were trying to have fun with the game decided, no fun for you. This character died. You should have been babysitting this character. Man, fuck that shit. It sucks.
I totally agree, 100%.
It, like, similarly in some of the Muso games, like, it's not quite an escort mission, obviously, but, like, it always bothers me when I'm having fun in a Muso game and I'm just, like, going around beating the shit out of dudes, having a good time, and then all of a sudden I lose. And it's because the commander died for whatever, like, dumb reason, and because I didn't babysit him enough. And it's like, man, fuck off with that shit. Just let me go around beat the shit out of dudes.
Any other pet peeves?
There probably are. I can't think of any at the top of my head right now. But, I would say games that integrate visual novel elements when it's also another type of game. Like for me, it's like either be one or the other. And this is like a really personal thing, obviously. But like, if you're a visual novel and you're just strictly a visual novel, then I have like a different expectation. Like I'm expecting to just, okay, it's time to sit down and I'm going to read this fucker. But like it usually bothers me when like it's also like a turn-based RPG or something. And then it's like, here's 10 hours of reading and then, oh, you have a battle or something like that. That really bugs me. I would say like an exception to that would be 999. 999 is like half visual novel, half point and click adventure puzzle game. So, and I think it was able to balance itself very evenly. So it didn't feel like I was doing too much of one or the other. It was like, okay, I have a decent amount of time reading. Now I have a decent amount of time where I have to figure out this puzzle. And, it went back and forth at a good pace. So I guess my pet peeve is like if it's disproportionate.
Yeah, I can get that. Yeah, I think that would probably be one of mine as well. I did a video actually on pet peeves a while ago. I forget what I said in that one, but for me, like at the top is when a game that isn't a stealth game or does not have mechanics appropriate for a stealth game adds in a stealth section where you instantly fail when you get caught. That shit
Yeah.
pisses me off so goddamn much, and it's every Zelda game has this, and it's always the worst
Yeah,
part.
I was about to say, like, well, in Metal Gear Rising, it's not a big deal because, like, you can ignore the stealth. But, like, in games where, oh no, here's a stealth section and you die immediately when you're caught or anything like, yeah, that fucking blows.
Yeah, go back 30 minutes, lose 30 minutes of progress just because the AI decided to be random, and then you get caught, and then it's
The
nothing annoys me
fucking
more than that.
AI, the AI saw your foot like across the room. They saw the 1 pixel of your foot, and now you know they teleported across the room and is taking you to jail. Like fuck you.
I escort missions are another for me. I fucking hate escort missions. I hate time
Hmm.
limits in games that aren't designed around them. Like Dead Rising and Majora's Mask, I love because the games are designed around that. But add in an arbitrary time limit to a certain section of a game, and it's an easy way to piss me off. And then
Agreed.
forced gimmicky controls, whether it be touch controls or like waggle shit, bothers the fuck out of me.
Dude, dude, in fucking Breath of the Wild, when you had to like tilt the controller for those fucking like shrine puzzles, like that shit blows.
Nightmare flashbacks, ugh, the worst. So
Oh, those are terrible. Oh, I hated those.
So Zelda Phantom Hourglass actually is the rare game that combines pretty much every one of my gaming pet peeves into one section. The Temple of the Ocean King is basically everything I hate in games combined into one horrible mess where it's a dungeon you keep going back to repeating the same shit over and over again. It's an escort mission. It's a stealth thing where if you get caught you fail and have to do it all over again. It's
Oh God.
touchscreen controls, shitty touchscreen controls, and the time limit. And they throw in a time limit for good measure. It like fuck Phantom
Holy
Hourglass
crap! I've
is the
never
worst.
played it. I've
Worst.
never played that one,
It
so that sounds bad.
is garbage. It is absolute dog shit because of that. I when people say they like that game, I'm just like, how? Like that dungeon is like, it's almost like that they were when they were designing that dungeon. They're just like, how do we make this the most annoying thing imaginable? And they did it.
God
Like
damn.
fuck that game. Fuck that game.
I can feel the hate. Like shit.
That game drove me nuts. But I think actually no. The worst thing about it is it's actually kind of a cool concept. A dungeon that you have to keep coming back to periodically throughout the game, and you kind of like scale it further and further. But like they completely botched it by making you have to redo the same shit over and over again, and then making it the whole dungeon a stealth time limit escort section. Like ugh. Let's
Fuck.
move on to the next question.
Like damn.
Phantom
Uh,
Hourglass. Yeah, no, don't. No one play that game.
all right. I'll keep that in mind. So
So also
what?
bad as well, by the way.
Wait, what's also bad?
Spirit Tracks, the other DS Zelda game, like it's terrible too.
Well, fuck me.
How about a musical instrument where you have to blow into the microphone on the DS and it works maybe 5% of the time? How's that for fun? And you have to use it
Oh shit, that sounds bad.
in the train, you explore the train, exploring the world, and if you fail, you have to do it all over again. It's I don't get the DS Zelda games, man. I don't understand what like I don't know. Whatever. Next question.
Favorite art style in a video game. I mean, generally speaking, I'm like a fan of cell shading, but
Yeah,
if
so
I had to pick like, if I had to pick one game in particular, it might be Okami.
Okami is a good one, especially in
It just
HD.
looks like a watercolor painting. Like, it just, it's so visually stimulating whenever you play it. It just looks amazing.
Jet Set Radio Future, I really love the look of. Like,
Mm.
yeah, cell shading in general is just really good. A Project Octopath, honestly, is one of my favorite art styles.
Yep, I agree. That game looks awesome. Looks beautiful. But like cell shading in general though, like those games tend to age better. Like I went back and played Digital Devil Saga on my original PS2, and even then, like it's still a decent looking game.
You know, cell shading is always going to be something like that holds up as compared, especially compared to like early 3D and shit like that.
Yeah. Although I do have to say, like, I do have a soft spot for the way a lot of PS1 RPGs looked. Like a
Yeah,
lot,
yeah.
like a lot of them had like the 3D environments, and they placed like 2D sprites for the characters. I love that look. Or they'll do the opposite. They'll have like the 2D pre-rendered backgrounds with like 3D character models running on top. Like that, I always love that look. I think it looks great.
Pre-rendered backgrounds I've always been a big fan of.
Like it's such a lost art. They don't do that anymore, and it's kind of a bummer. The last game
Yeah.
I could think of that had that aesthetic was Grim Fandango.
Yeah, I also love just really good 2D art. Like Yoshi's Island, I think for a Super Nintendo game, like that game holds up so well. It looks absolutely amazing. Like I'm still
Hmm.
impressed by how good that game looks, and like
Looks good, so good.
it's got yeah.
So, do you have a favorite racing game?
N- I do. Actually, I typically I don't play racing games, but Burnout 3 is a classic. I put in hundreds of hours into that game back when it came out. Like it was so unique at the time.
Cool. For me, it's actually a Steam game called Distance.
I've not heard of this.
It is a pretty fucking cool and unique racing game. Super futuristic looking. When you're driving your car, it can fly. There's also like I think like a battle mode and stuff. Like it's a fun game. It's like really unique and interesting and really super futuristic sci-fi. Like it's neat. I'd say to give it a shot. It's pretty cool. It's only on Steam though.
Mario Kart games I've always liked actually. I've always found them to be fun multiplayer games, but yeah,
Yeah,
like
Mario Kart's good. You can't argue with Mario Kart. Mario Kart 8 was really good.
one in the series, I would say. Uh, like I generally like arcadey racers. Like the realistic racers don't do much for me, but I like the arcadey type racing games.
Yeah. And the last question that we have here is by 2222773. He asks, "What are some games that you guys enjoy the writing in, specifically JRPGs, and why?" There's a lot. I think
Yeah,
that's
there's quite a
primarily
few.
the reason why people play RPGs is because they enjoy the writing. So, what are some prominent examples for you?
Earthbound is always going to jump out at me.
Mm.
It's one of the very few JRPGs where like I want to actively talk to every single NPC in the game because I know they're always going to say something funny or witty or interesting to say, and that game has a lot of interesting themes, and like the a lot of the writing towards the end with like the final boss is just really powerful, surprisingly powerful. Mother 3 is the same way as well. Mother 3 has definitely got a more of an emotional core to it due to like this brother relationship. I yeah, the writing in those games, especially for the time, it's like Earthbound, it came out at a time where like localizations weren't like the greatest, and that one was absolutely spectacular. It's amazing how they were able to translate Itoi's writing for English. It was really spectacular. And then like Final Fantasy Tactics is another one. I think like the political tone to that game and just the mature writing to it was really surprising. But again, at the time, was really good.
Yeah, definitely. Writing and tactics is fucking phenomenal. Like, yeah, for the time, it was mind blowing. But even now, like, it still holds up. It's still like a really well written game.
That game is it's so good. It's such a great ending.
Yes, absolutely. And it has fantastic gameplay to back it up too. Like and the music, like, man, Tactics is the best Final Fantasy. I don't care what anyone says, it's the best one. Get out of here with your fucking shitty Final Fantasies. Tactics is the best, okay? You heard it here.
I wonder if a lot of people have like not played it just because they look at it being a strategy RPG and they're like, eh, that'd be a bit of a shame.
Oh, that would be a shame. So what a disservice. As for me, like, Tales of Berseria had surprisingly like really great writing. Like, I was really impressed with the characters in that game. I was really impressed with the story of that game. I was really impressed with how it handled its themes and how it related to the characters and the narrative. It was one of the best written games in the series by far. Like, really impressive stuff.
Yeah, it did surprise me. Yeah.
And of course, I always pump this game, but Tales of the Abyss, of course. I love that game. I love the writing in that game. It's fucking awesome. But getting away from Tales, I mean, I guess it's not a JRPG, but whatever. It's JRPG inspired. I really like the writing in Undertale.
Oh yeah, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, like the story is interesting. Like, it's very clever. The comedy is fantastic. The characters are really memorable and fun. I love Sans. Such a great character. And like, even if the story may have like a few issues here and there, like, you know, what Toby was able to do with that story was pretty phenomenal, considering he did it all by himself. And the fact that he was able to take like normal gaming conventions, just like saving, and was able to turn it into a narrative tool was mind blowing. Like, it was. I've never seen that before. And maybe there are games that have done that before, but the way that it was utilized in Undertale was really impressive.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things about that game, yeah, for sure. And you could see interesting thing with that game is if it wasn't for Earthbound or Mother 3, Mother 3 in particular, I would say that game probably wouldn't exist, right? Like Toby Fox has said this, I think, in interviews. I think you'd like Mother 3 a lot. Like, it's got a lot of similarities to Undertale, but I think it's a better game than Undertale. Like, Mother 3's got like really great combat and bosses and exploration and things like that.
Yeah, I need to play those games. But I'd say another game with good writing would be Breath of Fire's 3 and 4.
Need to play those. I really need to play. I bought the third one finally, so I have 3 and 4
Sweet.
both on my Vita. So I just gotta get the time.
Do it. Really good games. I mean, 4, I would say, has a really interesting narrative structure where you play as both the main character and the villain at certain intervals in the story, so you see what the two of them are doing, and it gives you like a different perspective on the villain, because like when you're playing as the main character, it almost feels like he's experiencing everything for the first time in a way. But the villain has been around for like a really long time. He's like this. He's been deified. He's like all powerful, and he's in like this world that he's like kind of unaware of, almost like, because he had been asleep for a long time. So like the world he once knew has changed, and he's kind of like coming to grips with that. And it's really interesting to see him go through that, even though he's, technically the villain. Really good stuff.
Yeah, that sounds really intriguing. That I don't know any games that actually do that.
No, yeah, I can't think of any.
Another game I actually want to mention, the last game, is Suikoden 2. It really surprised me how good the writing in that game is, despite the translation being a little sloppy in places. It's got a lot of grammatical errors and things like that, similar to Final Fantasy VII. But I think one of my favorite things about that game is like the character arcs, especially the Luca Blight's character arc, and then another certain other character that I don't really want to spoil. But that game has some surprising twists to it that I was really not expecting from that game, and the ending I thought was extremely powerful, and it really caught me by surprise. Like that game, the writing in that game is so much better than the first game. It's pretty crazy. That game's
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
yeah, it's an awesome game. I wish more people actually played.
Not a JRPG, but Silent Hill 2, amazing, amazing writing.
For sure. Yeah, that game has got one of the best, some of the best storytelling in games.
Yeah, that I mean, I know that this person was specifically asking JRPGs, but dude, you really owe it to yourself to at least watch a playthrough. It's really good. Like James Sunderland's character is it's a mind fuck. I don't want to reveal anything if you haven't played it. Like it's so good.
Yeah, that's another one of those games where it's like the storytelling's great, but the atmosphere is so good in that game. Like it's like it's one of the very few horror games I've played that actually genuinely like make me uncomfortable. Like the sound design too in that game is masterful. Like that game is a masterpiece, absolute masterpiece.
Agreed. Yeah, I love that game. It's amazing. But I think that's it. I think we've come to the end. So I know usually we talk about anime at this point, but since things have been busy, Floyd hasn't had a chance to watch much. So next episode we'll try and discuss it. But I think that's it. I think that's a wrap. Hopefully we can get the next episode out just a little bit sooner and not have to wait such a long time. But we try to do these when we can. And I hope you guys understand. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. This has been another episode of the Final Bosses podcast. This is Shintai with Ultimate Floyd. Take care, everyone.
Later.